Hi everyone, this is AJ DeLita here. I am a focused missionary serving at the Temple University in the city of Philadelphia. My teammates and I just got back this past month from our Seek conference with Focus. This year we had the opportunity to bring 50 students to Seek, and this year Seek was probably one of our biggest events. There were about 17,000 college students that came from across the country, all coming together to encounter God in a new and profound way. So for this video, I've invited one of my students to share his story of how he encountered God at Seek. His name is Chris Ty. He is a junior here at Temple University, studying music education. And a fun fact about him is that he's actually a catechumen. So this upcoming Easter, he'll be receiving his sacraments and entering the Catholic Church. So please be praying for him. And right now he is so zealous for the love of Christ, and he can't wait to share it with you.
Hey guys, I'm Chris. As AJ just said, I'm a catechumen. I'm here at Temple University. I'm studying in RCIA here at the Newman Center with a seminarian from St. Charles Seminary. And I went to Seek, as the title was, as the theme for Seek was, encounter something more. For a while, my faith was all sorts of craziness. It was ups and downs, highs and lows, like nobody could believe. I couldn't imagine myself going through that much in the short amount of time that the events were occurring. And I knew when I heard the theme that I needed something more than what life was giving me now. And so it began. I really didn't feel like I belonged as a catechumen. I didn't feel like I deserved to be there. Mainly because, when there's so many people that love God, why do I, who just learned about God not even a year ago, deserve to be there even? So I struggled with that feeling of doubt, with those feelings of fear, and he brought me to Proverbs 3, where it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. On your own intelligence do not rely. And that's when I knew how exactly he was going to use me, and how he was going to bring his love to me, most importantly. He needed me to trust in him. He needed me to turn away from those doubts and those fears. But he knew just how important they were in my mind. So with that, I went to sleep, hopeful for the next day where I could trust him even further than I was already, by going all the way to Indianapolis. I woke up, and a little later than what I expected, and I skipped breakfast, but I trusted the Lord, and I opened my Bible up. He brought me to my favorite passage, the walking on water. And long story short, I discovered that doubt stems from fear. There are 3 moments, very similar to how Peter denies Christ 3 times. There are 3 moments where Peter doubts in Jesus. And to know the precursors of that doubt was fear. And ultimately, when Jesus asks Peter, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And to learn that the topic in which Jesus is talking to him there is, why did you doubt in me? And to learn that that reason is fear, I knew that I needed to hunt down my fear. I spent 4 hours in adoration that day. I skipped the men's session, and I was on the hunt for this fear, and I spent those 4 hours in deep contemplative prayer, trying to find exactly what was holding me back from God and from his love. He would use those fears later on in adoration the next day to give me the most powerful experience of healing that I've ever had in my whole life. His love was truly for me in that moment. It was Saturday night, and I went through a myriad of flashbacks with me in a vision holding a heart, my heart. And as we went through these flashbacks, which were all negative, each time it would just cause a wound to come up into my heart. It would slash, it would beat. My heart was bruised, it had knives, it had nails, it had thorns, it had shards of glass, depending on the severity of the wound which the Lord was showing me. Then I remember looking up, and I saw Jesus on his throne with Mary next to him, and all of the saints and angels feasting all around him. And I was wondering, why are you feasting? There's so much pain in my heart, and look at what I've done. And I remember just going back to the parables in Luke 15 and being able to witness something akin to that, the parables of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and most importantly, the lost son. The lost sheep was with Mary as she was cheering and pointing at me like, look, we found the sheep in the wilderness. He's right here. And continuing on with the lost coin, she was telling all the saints and telling Jesus. But then I looked at Jesus, and it was the parable of the lost son. And I was that lost son. I had squandered most of my life in fear and in doubt, so much so that I would fall into drugs when I was 18. And I was running away from the very idea of death itself, because when you run away from reality, that reality must be so bad that maybe deep down you want to die. And I came to that realization, and all I could look at was him and lift up my heart to him and be like, look at what I've done. Talk to him, scream at him, look at what I've done. You've given me the gift of my heart and my love and all that I love, and look how I've squandered it like a lost son. And I will never forget the face that he looked at me with, the eyes with which he looked upon me with. Nothing like anybody else could have looked at me upon that confession to me. And his heart was radiating this white light. And as he brought it closer and then brought it back down, the heart that was so wounded it was oozing black tar with its own crown of thorns and wounds was alive and beating and pure and white like his. And then I opened my eyes, and the heart that I was cupping in my hands that was mine turned out to be the monstrance on the altar, radiating with pure white light. And I realized that contained in that monstrance, the Blessed Sacrament itself, is the heart of Jesus. And I did a couple of rosaries and over the course of a couple days, and Mary was probably like, we're not done with you yet. Close your eyes again. And I end up at the foot of the cross. And I remember kissing Jesus' feet with Mary's hand on my back, leaning me down, and looking and noticing there was a knife instead of a nail in his foot. I knew that wasn't right, so I stepped back and I look up at Jesus on the cross where his love poured out for us. And he uses every last bit of his energy to turn to me and speak 5 words I'll never forget. Follow me, you are forgiven. I long to hear for all of my life someone who chooses me to follow them, and someone who forgives me for all that I've done. And I open my eyes once more and take a look at that monstrance, and I see Jesus' eyes. And I realized he doesn't look at me like any other human. He doesn't look at me like my dad or my brother or my mom. He looks at me with his heart, his pure, white, unblemished heart, full of love for all of humanity, me and you. And at that realization, the memories of all those fears and doubts that I just passed through wiped away clean, and my heart was in a state of pure peace. And all I could do was sing as loud as I could. These were probably the loudest words I ever sung in my whole life. But at the end of it all, I remember losing fear and losing doubt. There was this reality of God's presence in my life, so powerful enough that it would be able to allow me to open up to people in a way I've never have before, where I wasn't hoping for acquaintances or friends. I was hoping for those that would sprint to heaven with me too. And to be able to share my story, to be able to share the love of God, that's a new mission. I came in to seek, wanting to encounter something more, but not knowing what, and came out encountering something more than fear and doubt itself. And that's the love of God and the love of Christ. God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for listening.